I have seen it too many times to doubt it anymore. Hearts can soften. Doors can open, and even the most distant relationships can find their way back to healing. And if you're the mom that ever whispered the words, "Will they ever come back?" This message is for you. You're not the only mom wondering if the silence will last forever. Some kids say they just need a break. Others go no contact with no warning, which is leaving you stuck with more questions than answers. But today I want to talk about what's actually possible and what you can do in the waiting that will change everything. Whether or not your child comes back tomorrow, in a year, or whenever that's going to be. Because I do believe in hope and faith. And more importantly, I believe in your healing. Today I have 4 topics for you in regards to this. So let's dive right in. Number 1 is what their silence might actually mean. You know, we've talked about this a lot, but I want you to remember that when your child goes silent, I know it feels like personal rejection. It feels like abandonment. It feels like punishment, right? It is unfair, of course. But often, silence is a sign of an internal chaos within them. And so many estranged adult children are often emotionally overwhelmed. They're unsure how to handle a confrontation. They might be afraid of vulnerability. And pulling away is feeling safer than facing the pain. You and I both know that's not the answer. But pulling away is feeling safer than facing the pain. Silence does not mean never again. Sometimes it means, I don't know how to do this right now. For those of you with a strong faith, always remember God is always at work, even in the silence, especially in the silence. So while you may see nothing, you may see stillness. He may be stirring something deep inside your child's heart. Seeds are being planted, not necessarily from you, but from others. And you need to trust that the unseen is just as sacred as the seen, right? Number 2, why it's not always about you. So some of you are going to understand what I'm talking about when I say this, but so many moms jump to self-blame. What did I do wrong? There has to be something. And not to say that there's nothing, right? Not to say that we didn't do anything, but the result of having them walk away doesn't always mean it was about you. Sometimes they walk away because of their own failures, because they have unresolved pain. Whether it's a mental health issue, identity struggles, or pressure from outside voices. Your child may be protecting themselves from something internal, not external. They might be protecting themselves from themselves, not you. But even so, that doesn't erase your pain, right? It doesn't make it easier to be cut off. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it gives you permission to stop carrying the full weight of what went wrong. You know, you can be loved without condition. You need to love without condition. Unconditional love. Of course, we love our kids. But you can have love and wisdom at the same time. You can let go of guilt and still trust in the healing, all at the same time. If this is hitting home for you and you're ready to stop walking through this alone, I invite you to book a discovery call with me. You know, spots are limited, so please sign up when you are serious about managing this and prioritizing yourself, because that is what needs to happen to get you through this period of time, regardless of how long it is. When you're ready, the link to the discovery call is in the show notes. Number 3 is what really makes reconciliation possible. You know what? I can promise you it's not chasing them. It's normal to want to fix it, texting, over-explaining, apologizing a million times, trying to repair the damage. But reconciliation doesn't usually come from chasing. It comes from peace. It comes from having a posture of peace. You know, in my coaching group, I've seen so many moms change their lives, not by doing more in regards to their kids, but standing in this new posture. One of the moms said to me recently, I'll be here when they're ready. And so she prepared that place. She prepared herself, her health. And a few months later, her daughter came back with an open heart. Now, does it always work that way within just a few months? No. But I just want to tell you what's possible. Another mom started focusing on her self-care, joined one-on-one coaching, and really started beginning to heal pretty deeply. Her son told her, "You sound different now. And that's why I feel safe to call. That's why these conversations are going better. You sound different now." In that case, maybe she was putting less pressure on him, right? Maybe this was a mom navigating the ins and outs of the current relationship, wasn't fully estranged. And as I know, all of you are not. But God does honor surrender. And we've talked about this a lot. And I will continue to talk about it because it's so important. He's not asking you to fix your child. He's inviting you to trust him with your child. So being emotionally steady, being physically healthy, navigating your other relationships, not reacting to anything in panic, right? Rather, let's focus on the peace and create the safe space. So when they do come back, it's not a guilt trap. That's the last thing you want it to be. And you get to grow while you wait. And I know this is nothing any of us would have signed up for, but you will grow while you wait. If you do the work, I promise you, you will. And God is not a respecter of persons. If he did it for me and for the other moms that I work with, I've walked with so many moms who have navigated this and come back together with their kids. He can absolutely do it for you. And lastly, number 4 is, will they come back? There's no way for me to know when your adult child will return, what that's going to look like. Some do after a few weeks, some take years, and some may not return in the same way as you had hoped. But here's the deeper truth. You do not have to wait for their return to start returning to you. Your healing, your peace, and your life are not on pause. They cannot be paused. They need to be going full throttle ahead. And I want you to ask yourself, if your child walked back in tomorrow, who would they find? For those of you who know the story of the prodigal son, he didn't chase his son. He was ready for him when he returned. Having that posture of love without bitterness, in a posture of readiness without control. He was trusting that God was writing a story that he couldn't see. When my daughter was gone, I used to think of that story all the time. Because I want you to know this is not the end of your journey. God's still moving behind the scenes. And whether they come back this week, this month, this year, you can still live this full life of purpose and peace. I want you to stay hopeful. I want you to keep healing and stay grounded in who God is, because he doesn't give up. He doesn't change. We're the ones that change. We're the ones that walk away. I encourage you in that today. I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next episode. God bless.